this presentation. My name is Jamie Hurd. I am a project manager at Portland Public School, and we are here tonight to present a Type 2 land use presentation for an alternative high school called Multiple Pathways to Graduation that is going to be located at the current Benson parking lot. I will have the team introduce themselves. I'll start with Bryce Gardner. You can kick it off to somebody else, Bryce.
Thanks, Jamie. So I am a construction manager with Portland Public Schools Office of School Modernization, working on Benson and MPG. David?
Hi, I'm David Main. I'm the communications manager for the PPS bond program. And just to let you know, we have, if you have any questions during the presentation, put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. In addition, I've put in the chat our school modernization email so that you can also send any questions or queries to that as well. And I'm going to throw it to Joe.
Thanks, David. Hi, I'm Joe Echeverry. I'm a principal at Bassetti Architects, and we are the design architect for the Multiple Pathways to Graduation building, and we'll be leading the presentation today. I'm here with one of our esteemed employees, Jake Rose.
Yep, I'm Jake Rose, and I'm a designer on the project with Bassetti Architects. And I believe Lydia is here also. Maybe she's on mute, but Lydia Burns, the project manager, is also here. Should I pass it to Kathy?
Thank you. Yes, Kathy Corliss, Angelo Planning Group. I'm working on the land use applications for this project.
Thank you, everybody. And it looks like we have one participant, and maybe others will join us, but we would like to ask if you could privately chat one of us to provide your email and mailing address so that we can provide you notes for the meeting. You can do that with myself. There's like a little buttons at the top of the image that allows you to chat without everybody seeing it. So, and with that, I will turn it over to Bassetti to start the presentation.
All right, does the screen show up okay?
Yeah, looks good.
And can you see my cursor by chance?
Yes.
Yes. All right, I can point. All right, well, we wanted to give an overview of the application that is going to be submitted for the Type 2 process. To start with, we'll give a little background information, project schedule for the project, as well as a brief overview. And really the focus is about some adjustments that we're submitting. I think, to be clear, and Kathy, correct me if I say it incorrectly, but the intended use as a school building on this site is a acceptable use on the site. It's
a permitted use in the EX zone, correct?
Permitted use. So our application is not for approval of this as in a totality of a project, but really it's about particular adjustments and modifications that we are submitting for this application. So schedule-wise, we're in the middle of design for this project. Construction is anticipated to start late next year and would continue on with the school opening in the fall of 2024, when students would come back to school that fall. Our Type 2 review process is just beginning, so this is the first step before we can submit an application. And then with that process and with approval, we'll be able to submit for building permit to stay on track with that construction start. So the site itself is northeast Portland, adjacent to Benson Polytechnic High School, which is outlined there in the red, which is right off and adjacent to I-84. It's along Northeast Irving Street, and then around the backside on 16th Street and Gleason is this particular site. And so it's kitty corner to Benson Polytechnic High School and is abutting Buckman Field or Buckman Park there to the left in this site plan. A little bit about the school. Multiple Pathways to Graduation is a overarching district-wide program that provides educational options for all youth that empower, engage, and prepare them for college, work training, and global citizenship while serving as a vanguard for systemic educational change. As Jamie mentioned, it's an alternative school, so it really supports students who might have gone to a comprehensive high school but need additional support or weren't succeeding there and have an opportunity to finish and get their high school education in this program. The building is actually going to provide space for multiple programs and schools. There's the Alliance School. There are two of them actually coming into this building, one that is currently housed at Benson High School and one at Meek campus. They're going to be co-located and joined in this building. We also have a school called Clinton School, which is a part of the DART program that also will be in this, this building. There are other wraparound services such as teen parent daycare and a reconnection services, which is the liaison between students and parents and whichever alternative school they might end up in. So it really is a really powerful program and really a great group to work with to provide support for these students. On June 11th is when the school board of 2020 is when the school board approved the master plan for this building. So the design we'll be sharing today is based off of that approved master plan and has been developed with a lot of stakeholder engagement and with teachers, staff, community members, and administrators of those various schools and programs. So what you're seeing is a culmination of a lot of input and a lot of feedback to get to where we are today. Some of the building information, the site is 65,000 square feet. It's currently a parking lot, as Jamie mentioned, and we'll have some site photos to give you some context in a moment. Currently, there's no building on the site, and there are 156 parking spaces there. The new proposed improvements will have an 86,000 square foot building. It'll be 3 stories with a parking level below, and pretty limited exterior site improvement area, under 10,000 square feet. And there will be around 86 parking spaces put back, 1 on-site loading space, and over 140 bike parking spaces to meet the city code requirement for bike parking. So a little overview of the site. The building, as I mentioned, on this plan, north is to the right, just for your information. So like I mentioned, it abuts Northeast Gleason and Northeast 16th. And then there is a dead end street, Northeast Flanders, at the southeast corner of the site right here. It's fronted, being that it's fronted on 3 streets, we have quite a bit of logistics in terms of vehicular access and pedestrian zones that we have to be thoughtful about. There's a planned bike lane on 16th, which limits our ability to access the site from 16th. So you'll see that vehicular wise, we have a parking entry a ramp that goes down below the building to the right off of Gleason Street. And then there is a service entry at this dead end street of Flanders that will provide the loading zone and trash and other service aspects to it within an enclosed service area, which we'll talk about in a moment. Buckman Field, like as I mentioned, is to the west on the top of the page here. And the building is oriented so that the main entry for pedestrians and during the school day would be the main secure entry is to the north on the right side. And then there is a secondary daycare entry for the daycare program on the east side or at the bottom of the page. And that's also adjacent to an outdoor play area for that daycare function as well. One of the key aspects to the site design that we'll want to share of which kind of dictates the building configuration and the way this is shaped is there are some really large oak trees on the northeast corner of the site, as well as some of the southeast corner of the site. And we're wanting to preserve and maintain those trees in the design because they're quite large and very a big important part of the context of the site. So looking at a view of the existing conditions, we're looking from Northeast Gleason. If you're standing at the corner that leads to the fire lane for Benson High School, looking back at the site, you can see currently there is a driveway entry at the corner here. The new driveway entry to the parking will be more mid-block, kind of centered on this here. And the trees you see on the left there, the large trees, are what we're looking to preserve as we work around the site and with the new building. Looking again towards those trees on the northeast corner of the site in the existing parking lot. Now we're looking from the southeast corner back towards the site. To the left is the dead end Flanders Street, and then we're standing along 16th where new bike lane and parking areas will eventually be installed. That's not a part of this project. That's something the city will be doing, but we've been informed that that's a part of our considerations we have to think about in the design. But you can see this other large stand of trees that are there that we have to stay outside of the tree canopy area and root zone when we build the project and in the final configuration to protect them and make sure they stay healthy throughout the project. And finally, we're at the south end of the site looking back north. There is a recent development across the street of Gleason Street. You can start to see it there and beyond. It's just completed. That is I believe a 4 or 5 story apartment building. And so this building will be fewer stories, but similar in context in terms of adjacent buildings for massing and scale to what's being built around this neighborhood already. So now we're going to get into some of the details of the actual adjustments that are being applied for with this application. Primarily, it boils down to a couple of adjustments. The first is that the city requires that that buildings that have street frontage be within 10 feet of that frontage, and that's the maximum setback. Due to the trees that are on the site, as well as the programmatic needs for the building, that is not able to be accomplished. And so the proposal is to get an adjustment for a 30-foot setback off of the north street frontage along Gleason and an 80-foot setback along the east frontage of 16th. We actually are closer to that frontage on Flanders, but that the worst case scenario here of the 80 feet is what is being presented as an adjustment. With these adjustments, we're able to preserve the trees, which I think is one of the most important aspects, as well as provide some of the site amenities for the school that are needed, such as the outdoor play areas and the main entries, as well as the vehicular entries that need to be accomplished to get ramping down to the lower level. And then the second adjustment that is being applied for is an adjustment for number of loading spaces. So the current code requires 2 loading spaces, and we are proposing 1 loading space of a standard size. And the reason for that is, one, is just limited site area there's just isn't enough room for 2 loading spaces to meet the turning radius requirements for loading. And secondly, because this is a PPS property adjacent to Benson High School, there already is a full-size loading space at Benson that could also serve this building if needed. So between that space and then the space that would be provided on this site, proposing that those would be meeting the intent of the code and requirement for the loading needs. And in terms of the building use, the 1 loading space also meets the need for the school because for deliveries that do occur, they're staggered throughout the day. And so timing wise, that works with the single loading space that's currently proposed. One thing to note is that the service court or loading space is basically inside the building, so it's screened. There would be a roll-up door that would provide securing of that space and also shield that space from view from the street. So it's a fully enclosed loading area that is screened from the street. So with that, that's the site and building overview that we wanted to share. If there are any comments, please put them, or questions, put them in the chat and we can respond. And as Jamie and David mentioned earlier, you can get more information by emailing, or there's a website dedicated to the project where you can find out more information about the building and the project itself, if you desire. So.
Yeah, all of the building history notes from all of our design meetings and board meetings related to the project are on that webpage. So it's a good resource.
And for anybody that's joined late, if you could post your name, email, and mailing address for us so that we can record that for the benefit of the city and also to send you the notes, that would be helpful. And if you don't want to make that to everyone, you can make a private message to Jamie or to myself, be absolutely fine.
Also, it's important to note that I think the recording of this will be posted too as well, David, right? For those that want to refer back.
That is correct. And also in the chat is there's a link. So if you want to just hit on the link to the website, you can get that there.
This will be posted on the PPS YouTube channel.
Yeah, and there'll be a link on that page that's listed right there for that. Are there questions?
Okay.
Do we need to there's Sarah Bottomley is I'm going to unmute her. She wishes to be unmuted.
Hi, I'm just here as a resident in the area trying to get a better understanding of selfishly what's going to happen with parking in the area with the second large building going up on what had been a parking lot. And so it's helpful to understand there's going to be some parking underneath the building. And I think it's wonderful that you're going to preserve the trees. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have a question about the parking, or are you just
well, it's helpful to know. So I guess it's about half of the parking that's on the lot now. And so that will be for folks at Benson and at the new MPG building.
Correct. So it'll be primarily for the staff. We, at this point, are considering it to be secure parking so that we can maintain it for staff and not, have overnight parking that then takes up parking spaces in the morning, and also to make a more secure and safe environment down there for staff to park. But it would be for both Benson and Multiple Pathways staff and faculty.
And will the folks that are using the parking lot now for all of the Buckman Field events, will it be restricted for Benson staff, or?
I think at this point, so, we have ongoing conversations, Portland Public Schools and Portland Parks have ongoing conversations to work out those kinds of collaboration agreements. And I think the challenge is that there isn't, if it's open to all of the public, it's very difficult to manage so that it can be preserved for teachers showing up for work in the morning. And additionally, the Multiple Pathways program is a slightly different schedule. So the students are often in school till about 6 o'clock at night because they are a different population. So at this time, it is being considered to be specifically for Portland Public Schools staff and teachers. So that would change because I know that our parking lot gets used a lot by the soccer club and other users of Buckman Field.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you coming in asking the question. Is there anything else you were, any other questions that you had?
And how many stories again is the building going to be?
It's 3 stories from grade, so there'll be a parking garage underneath. So, you know, at the level of Gleason, we consider that grade, so it would be 3 stories above that. And the
Okay.
site does slope, so on the southern edge, kind of that corner where Flanders comes into Buckman Field, it would read as a 4-story building.
Oh, from the Beckman Field side?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And one other, and so construction is expected to begin in summer of 22? Is that right?
Yes.
And does that also mean that's when the excavating would start, or might that start before then?
No, the excavating would begin at the start of the project in late fall of 22. I think Jamie, it's worth noting that site, being that it's adjacent to Benson, because Benson construction is starting sooner, may be used. It'll be fenced and used for some staging, probably at some point.
Right. That is a good point. So because of the Benson modernization, we are going to be using the parking lot for staging and for some site offices, and it will be fenced off on June 14th of this year. And there will be a pre-construction meeting in late May or early June for the neighbors so that we can talk about that and other construction impacts. So the students will be vacating the site this summer, and then Benson construction will start in late August.
Okay, thank you.
That is separate from this project, but it is the same site. So just want to make that
Correct.
clear.
Yeah. It's a good distinction.
If that's all the questions, do we now conclude the meeting?
We can conclude the meeting.
Do we have any other, is Darren Lee a?
He's with PPS.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Apologies,
Yeah.
Darren, I didn't recognize your name.
All right, I'm Director of Construction for OSM. And I just wanted to see how it was going.
So far, so good.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being a part of all this and for participating. And have a nice evening. And Sarah, if you want, you can email to the school modernization line, and we can, if you give us contact information, we can send you notes and the link, or you can find the link on the webpage.
Yeah, I have her email and
great.
mailing address. Yeah,
Perfect.
so I will share that with Kathy, and we'll be sending you some notes, Sarah.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great.
That's great.
Thank you.
Great questions.